的建跟11那样啊，他有打电话给我说即将被抓了，那时候他叫我说不要紧张啊，不要担心，他们会联络到什么事，然后才联络我。那是一个人用没有亲人在身边呢，关宁才8岁多，关俊才2岁多，一个人极紧张又担心，又焦虑。
And you hear mother crying in the middle of the night, and crying quietly so that we do not hear. You know something was wrong, and that you do not need to go to school, and that there was not enough food in the house because there's a curfew going on. You know something was very wrong.
They took me to Kuala Selangor, where I spent the next some 60 days of initial detention under the internal security for investigation at the Kuala Selangor police lockup.
The first time we saw him, he was dressed in a prison uniform, those steel walls, and we were crying because he could not come back with us. And he told me that to be a good boy, listen to mommy, and don't bully the other brothers and sisters.
那时我煮一点鸡汤给他喝。去到那边的时候，看到他人很憔悴，又瘦瘦，又赤着双脚，那是心里真的很难过。他说叫我好好照顾孩子，不用担心他。
Well, I think you're fired by the sense of injustice that you have been a victim because of they have done no wrong, and that this is oppression at its worst, tyranny of the majority, and you're fired by that sense of injustice, and I think that kept you going.
Held in Moa detention camp just 32 miles away from his childhood home, Kit Siang enrolled to study law through London University. It was a way to make use of the time.
I managed to sit for my first exam. I managed to pass, and was supposed to prepare for my second exam. But by that time, on the 1st of October 1970, I was released.
Parliament was about to reopen for the first time since May 13th.
I was appointed Secretary General of the DAP, but also I was in detention. So it become how tenable and how credible is a restoration if the leader of the DAP is still in detention. So I went back to Batu Pahat and started anew.
释放的时候呢，我们也不知道哦，好像有党员告诉我说他会释放啊，但是不久他就坐的士到家了咯。那时候我们极高兴哦，比中马票更高兴哦，看到他能够平安的到家，而且孩子每个都很高兴这样，我家婆也是很高兴。
When he was released from the Moa detention camp, he continued his law degree studies on his own. There were many nights that I woke up in the middle of the night, still seeing him sitting at the table doing his studies. This continued for many years until he got his law degree finally.
Very difficult times to try to rebuild public confidence, rebuild the party to move forward. At a time when many people wondered whether there's any future in this political struggle.
As the new leader of the party, Kit Siang determined to prove there was a future. He began carving a reputation for tackling issues unflinchingly whenever they arose. When the ruling coalition punished DAP MPs for opposing constitutional amendment, Kit Siang led the first ever walkout of Parliament in protest. In 1973, Kit Siang revealed in Parliament a cover-up of the deaths of babies at Melaka Hospital. He called for a commission inquiry into a hunger strike by over 200 political detainees. He called for abolition of the Internal Security Act. He was convicted under the Official Secrets Act for exposing irregularities in a government arms deal. Highlighted the $2.5 billion BMF scandal. Exposed the North-South Highway privatization scandal, misappropriation of 1.5 billion ringgit of co-op deposits, and launched the Save Bukit China campaign.
I think Parliament is a place where it's important, where the people's problems can be brought to the very fore, and I think we have been able to do that.
The uncompromising stance helped the DAP to steady electoral growth. By 1978, the DAP was Malaysia's largest parliamentary opposition party, and Lim Kit Siang continued to be the parliamentary opposition leader for 30 years to come.
Up until recently, the parliament has been largely two-thirds, and it's been a majority for one side. Lim Kit Siang has basically been that check that the system has to go through when any policies are being introduced. And I think there's a sense sometimes of denial of the challenges of corruption, the denial of the problems of ethnic imbalance, the problems of racism, that I think are very much part of the polity of Malaysia. And Lim Kit Siang, in many ways, put some of these things on the table.
In the 80s, we were a very lonely voice. It was not easy to operate in Parliament because of the overwhelming majority that they had. The rules can be changed anytime in Parliament in order to make things more easier and more difficult for the opposition. But nonetheless, we do what we can, and I think we have made a mark in the people can identify and see that we dare to speak up, although we feel a lot of risks.
I remember both my position as a minister, even a deputy prime minister. The moment when Kit Siang took the floor, I mean, we don't quite like it because we know that he'll come very prepared with facts and figures. Even then, Prime Minister Mahathir would be extremely nervous when Kit Siang would hold or take a position or something very substantive.
Despite the challenges, the DAP had set its sights on new targets, a demonstration that the party could apply its principled, even-handed approach in government.
Penang was the strategic area where we thought we could win and hold the state government.
In 1969, Dr. Lim Chong Yu had led the Gerakan Party into the Penang state government. It was the only time an opposition party had ruled a state. The DAP also had strong support in Penang. In 1986, Lim Kit Siang was asked to challenge the coalition's hold.
Because of the very important, if we can, in particular, win the Penang state power, the decision was taken that, okay, finally I make the move. Although it's a very great, a very agonizing one to move the family from Malacca to Penang.
Kit Siang stood in Tanjong and the state seat in Kampung Kolam, determined not to let the party down.
From morning to night, he would shake everybody's hands, give speeches in the charamas, 4 to 5 a night. And then talk with his staff about strategies and print out his press statements. After 4 to 5 days of this walking around, I asked him, "Aren't you tired, Dad? Because I'm exhausted." He says, "No, but this must go on. We cannot give up. We have to continue so that we can win the general elections."
结婚可拍拼，爱拼才会赢。
He's always working. Whenever we can visit him, he will be working at his study room. So normally we'll just greet him and leave him alone to continue his work.
Kit Siang did win both state and parliamentary seats. The DAP won 10 state seats out of 30 in Penang. But the path to ultimate victory in Penang was about to be complicated. In a surprise move, Kit Siang's eldest son joined him in his political mission.
And after much deliberation, after much consultation and much thinking, I decided to get into politics despite the objections of my mother. My mother told me, "Don't lah, you'll surely go to prison like your dad." I never believed her then, because I thought that I would not be important enough to go to prison.
Lim Guan Eng took Kota Melaka with a majority of over 17,000 votes. But there was trouble ahead. On October 27th, police cracked down on political leaders and social activists in a move known as Operasi Lalang, or weeding operation. The upheaval would have special impact for the family of Lim Kit Siang.
At that time, Parliament was meeting, and we didn't know until Parliament was in session that Guan Eng was arrested, that there was a major ISA arrest was taking place.
Kit Siang, Karpal Singh, and Hu Sapang went to High Street Police Station looking for an explanation.
And I was allowed inside because I said I wanted to see Lim Guan Eng as his lawyer. He had been arrested, and I had the constitutional right to consult my client. And there was the senior officer who said, "All right, come in. You please sit down here." Kit Siang was with me.
So he went in innocently, and then we were told that we were being arrested. Over 100 people were arrested from political parties, from social interests, NGOs, a whole spectrum of them. Guan Eng was the first.
This period of time was very tough on our family, especially on my mom, who has always been very strong.
那时心情很复杂，一直丈夫被抓，儿子被抓，那种心情很难形容那时被抓又担心他们不能抓了，里面会遭到他们虐待吗？又担心。
For the next 10 days, my mother and I never knew where both of them were, never knew how were they. It was actually the longest 10 days for my mom and I. This was the second time my mother has to go through this pain.
And during our questioning, of course, usual, they were trying to break us by all sorts of psychological tactics. They would tell me about, your Guan Eng is doing badly, taking very badly, and fiscally. You have big ideas because they will tell you, he's broken down, his health is very bad, and he couldn't take it and all that. So it works as a very great pressure on you. I only saw him in Kamunting when we were sent to Kamunting for our formal detention. Yes,